There's a big winter storm coming our way. They're calling it the Arctic Blast. And I just picked up this 2020 BMW M550i xDrive sedan earlier today. And instead of parking it in the garage during this winter storm, we're going to be doing some thorough testing in it. So over the next little while, we're going to be showing you everything you need to know about the G35 series and if it's winter certified here in Eastern Quebec. Now this snow here is not digital editing tricks. I mean, I don't even know how to do that. This is actual snow coming down, and it's not much right now, but I am expecting quite a bit of it by the time I go to bed, which is bad in the sense that I'm not actually going to be able to film this car in the deep snow, but we're going to hope for the best and try it out. Now, I did say that we're not going to go over absolutely everything you need to know about this because I feel that we've covered it pretty well over the last 12 months with the different vehicles we've tested here on Test Drive. That includes the 2019 BMW X5 xDrive 50i that we featured at the beginning of February, more or less, and most recently the 2020 750li xDrive, which is a facelift for the new 7 Series, gives you a really good idea of what this has to offer. And if you look back at that 2001 E39 that we did, this vehicle, like the E39, is so darn close to the 7 Series. The interior is very similar. There's just small changes, and obviously you don't get all the same features on the 5 Series, but it is really well equipped and really well positioned as a baby 7 Series. Both the exterior and interior look a lot like it. So if you want to know absolutely everything there is to know about it, either watch the X5 video or the 750li. You'll get a really good picture of the modern BMW vehicle. But I do want to go over briefly what this G35 series has to offer. We do have this in azurite black metallic paint. I do believe it is the same paint color we had on the X5. It looks black on most angles, but under certain light conditions, it does look like a dark blue. Really, really nice. We also have the mocha Napa leather interior with contrast stitching, along with $400 for the piano black wood trim with satin chrome surrounds. Now this vehicle comes moderately well equipped. Like I said, it's not fully loaded, but for an M550i, this is probably what most people will be looking at. It does have the $12,500 Premium Excellence package. It adds quite a lot of tech to this, including the automatic trunk, home link, comfort access, soft close doors, BMW display key, side and rear sunshades, ventilated front seats, comfort front seats, a leatherette dashboard, front and rear heated seats, BMW individual reading lights in the back, very cool, ambient air, front massage, ceramic iDrive controls, adaptive LED headlights with the laser light system, and the Driving Assistant Plus. MSRP for this vehicle as configured is $98,700 Canadian, quite a bit less than the 7 Series that we featured a few weeks ago, and a little bit less than the M4 that we featured last week. So there is a lot going on with this. This is the M performance vehicle for the 5 Series, which means that the numbers should be pretty excellent. And excellent they are. This uses BMW's N63B44 T3 V8 engine. It is a bi-turbo V8, producing 523 horsepower, 553 pound-feet of torque. That is the same engine in the 750li, and it is the same engine found in any of the other M50i vehicles, like the M850i that we featured a little while ago. 0 to 100 kilometer is 3.8 seconds. This car is quicker than a BMW M4 competition. Now, I will do my best to test that performance in this vehicle, but as I mentioned, we are in winter mode here on Test Drive, and what that means is we're going to be doing a lot less of the walk-around stuff. We're going to be doing more driving in snow mode. Videos are going to be shorter. The actual B-roll you're going to be seeing is less because I'm just not going to have a chance to clean these vehicles and do the same level of filming that we normally do during the spring and summer months, just because we're not going to have the capacity to do it. So this will be kind of a hybrid video in the sense that we will still do as much of the walk-around as we can, but this will be sort of a stepping stone into the winter season here on Test Drive. We're going to focus more on how these cars perform in the snow. And in order to test out these vehicles in the winter, we always need to have winter tires. Now here in Quebec, it's the law as of December 1st, any vehicles in the province, I assume it's any vehicles plated in the province, must have winter tires, but the press cars always have them, even if they're not from Quebec. So we do have Pirelli Soto Zero winter tires on here. They are run flats. And again, we are going to be testing these from a winter safety standpoint, not so much from a performance standpoint. You can daily drive this vehicle 365 days out of the year. That's one of the reasons why you would buy something like a 5 Series to begin with. You're not necessarily going to be storing this. The fact that it has xDrive is a nice plus, but the winter tires make the biggest difference. And it's something that we we will continue to argue on this show that it is vital to have winter tires if you live in an area that gets snow. Even if you have a small amount of snow, winter tires will do more in cold weather than all seasons. So we will continue to promote that as a safety practice here on Test Drive. But that's enough about this. Let's jump on in. I'll talk about the drive and everything about this vehicle, including the interior as we're driving around. But as I mentioned, very similar to the 7 Series that we featured last week. So check out that video if you want to know absolutely everything about it. But let's jump into the 2020 M550i and see how it handles. Well, the weather is pretty unpredictable, and I'm happy that we actually have quite a bit of snow. We probably had about a little over half a foot this morning. I didn't actually pull out my measuring tape to figure it out, but I believe we had about half a foot. They did call for between 10 and 15 centimeters of snow, and I definitely plowed almost, at least 15 centimeters of it. So now we're on the road. It's not really rush hour here. I mean, we live in a small town, but I tried to wait until at least most of the traffic would be off the road so that we can be doing some testing without having to worry too much about people around us. I did mention the law here in Quebec requires winter tires as of December 1st, but since this is the 12th of November, it doesn't mean people need to actually have them. So it's not so much me. I know that these tires are good and xDrive works incredibly well, and I'm a pretty skilled driver. It's everybody else I have to be careful of, because it's those people that are driving around still on summer tires that are to be careful of. Now let's talk about the M550i. Obviously, we're not going to be doing any performance testing in this type of weather. You can see on our POV camera that there is still quite a bit of snow on the road. They probably plowed this about 3 or 4 hours ago. We've had some more snow come down since. So there is quite a decent amount of snow on the road. This would be a typical winter storm condition. You're not going to necessarily be driving on snow all the time, even if you live in an area like we do here. They are quick enough at plowing, but still, you have to get things done. You have to go somewhere. There's an emergency. You need to get out on the road. You can't wait for the ideal conditions, so you're driving around in your M550i. And I have to say that so far I've been very impressed. Give it a little bit of gas there. You can see, oh man, traction on this thing is really good. And that'd be my only complaint. If you do want to do some drifting or some donuts, it's just not possible. This thing is too darn good. The xDrive system mixed with that very intelligent traction control system makes for a very safe drive. And I haven't had any issues with this driving around over the last, several hours. It works incredibly well. And again, that comes down mostly to the fact that we have good winter tires on this car. You can get by with a front-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive vehicle as long as you've got winter tires. But obviously having that xDrive system is an extra level of safety when you're driving around, especially in rough weather like this. I mean, it's not going to prevent everything, and it's something that I have to continuously tell people, that all-wheel drive isn't going to help you when you're trying to slow down. It's just for getting traction. It's to get power to the wheels. So in an emergency where you're slamming on the brakes, the tires are going to be the thing that's going to save you, as well as the brakes. But the tires need to be able to grip to something. And when the roads are covered in snow like this, you don't have a whole lot to work with. But so far it's been good. One other complaint about this, an actual complaint, not something just being silly, the wiper blades, not that great. They aren't being heated, and even the washer fluid, if I spray it on, it's not really doing what I would expect it to do. This should have a better cold weather package on here. The wiper blades should be heated as well as the washer fluid, and I'm not seeing that at this time as we're driving around. I had the same experience yesterday. As it started snowing here into the night, I took this vehicle out and I did not have good visibility out of the wiper blades because they were not getting cleared off from the ice and slush. They were freezing up. Not a good thing. But this really does feel like a smaller 7 Series. We talked about that when we were on the outside. You look at the interior here, very similar. Even the color that they selected for the seating here is pretty close to what we had with that BMW individual interior on the G12 not too long ago. But it does feel a lot more like a small 7 Series, just like the E39 did compared to the E38 7 Series. I feel that this is a lot closer to that gap now with the G30 compared to the G12 as it was with the E39 and E38. So if you want a smaller 7 Series, this is definitely the way to go. Obviously, backseat space is going to be tighter. There's not going to be as much features back there. But for what you need, especially on a day like today, we've got heated front seats, heated outboard rear seats, heated steering wheel. There's not much more you could ask for. Yeah, the armrest heating would be a nice thing to have, but that's something you have to go up to the 7 Series for. But you could get that on the Mercedes E-Class. And that's what this competes directly with. This M550i competes directly with that Mercedes AMG E53 that we featured, which even though that specific one was a coupe, you can get it as not only a wagon, but a sedan as well. You have all three options for the E53. Same type of power output. You're looking at around the same level of performance, but with the Mercedes, it is a mild hybrid system, whereas this is just a regular 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. And give it a little bit of gas. Yeah, I mean, you try to drift around the corners, it's just not going to let you do it. Yes, we could turn off traction control, but the point of this video is not to be doing drifts and donuts. I know we did that a little bit last year with the Dodge Durango, but I want you to see how this vehicle performs in winter snow conditions. That's the point of what we're going to be doing here on Test Drive over the next little while. I want you to see that these vehicles are able to perform in winter storms like this. We have a very unique opportunity with the location that we're filming in to be able to do this sort of stuff. Can't do it everywhere. And yeah, it's fun. So here, we'll go around this corner, have a speed bump beforehand, but if I give it some gas, like a super small little slide there, but traction control kicks in right away, gets the job done. There's another speed bump that they really should put signs for. But let's say we're doing, 50, you got to do an emergency brake. Yeah, I couldn't tell you how far that was, but it worked. You've got the traction control system and the ABS to help you slow down, but obviously you'll want to be smart when you're driving. But you can see this thing performs really well. That traction control kicks in so quick. Whoa, that's fun. That was one complaint I had last year with the Dodge Durango, is the back end kind of came out a little bit. And that's, again, I'm putting a little bit more power on this than you should be, but everything kicks in exactly as the way it should. But so far, I mean, this is really good. I'm having a lot of fun with it. Power into the slide there. Oh yeah. Ultimately, it's about being safe, right? And it's fun to be able to do these small little slides as we're coming out, but you do want to be safe. And I'm telling you, if you're looking for a year-round vehicle that is fun, because the performance is there, there's no doubt about it. 0 to 100 kilometers in 3.8 seconds, pretty incredible. So if you want performance during the summer, but safety and security during the winter months like we've got here, the M550i should do a very good job for you 365 days out of the year. All right, you got me. We'll see what we can do. I've turned off all the stability control. Oh yeah. The thing is though, I don't know where any of the curbs are, so I don't want to be doing too much. Oh yeah, it'll slide. Surprise! We've got a second driving segment. This one is more performance oriented. Weather's been pretty cooperative over the last couple of days, so we've been able to clear the car off, get it clean, and now we can do some performance testing. And why does the car need to be clean to do performance testing? I just like a clean car. But now that we've got some drier roads, we can push this car a little bit more. It's still very cold out. The tires are still, well, they're cold right now because the car hasn't been driven, but they're winter tires, so you're not going to want to do too much in terms of performance, especially when everything's cold. But this car does perform incredibly well. And as we said, the 0 to 100 kilometer time at 3.8 seconds is pretty ridiculous. Obviously, a lot of that has to do with the xDrive system, but still with 523 horsepower, you get a lot of power out of this with xDrive. Overall, all around, this is a seriously good daily driver. And that's why I do see a lot of these on the road. The new 5 Series, I'd say, is pretty popular here in Quebec. I don't spot them too often, but most of the time that I do see them as the M550i. So people do like this. And obviously the older 550i's have sold pretty well. So this has a lot going for it. And especially with this update for 2020, you get a lot more with it. So now we can do some testing with this car where it's meant to be. Now, obviously it did incredibly well in the winter, but now we can do a little bit more fun with it. Now, I do have everything in Sport Plus mode, traction and everything fully off, so foot on the brake, down. Holy crap, man. 100. Oh yeah, this thing is fast. It doesn't sound like it's fast. I'm gonna put the transmission back into normal mode for a minute. It doesn't sound like it's overly fast, even though we did almost get up to 400 kilowatts and around that 750 Newton meters of torque. This car pushes. It doesn't sound quite as good as that M4 did, and that had the M titanium exhaust. This is the regular exhaust that you would get with the M550i, so it doesn't have that same grunt to it. And even if you watch our little driving that we did at the end of our driving segment, our little snow testing, you can hear the sound of the car. Almost sounds like a diesel. Now, there is an M performance version of the diesel 5 Series. We don't get that here in North America or Canada, but this does sound a little raspy like that when you have the engine idling. It's not a good thing or a bad thing, whatever it is, you can hear it. That's been some of the complaint with some of these newer engines. They just sound a little dirtier than they did before, not necessarily in a good way. For me personally, you do hear it while you're idling, but that can be changed. We do have the car set up so that the exhaust is sort of in performance mode all the time, even though there really isn't any change aside from going into sport mode or eco mode. It'll just kind of change how it sounds, but it's not like some of the new M cars that actually have buttons to be able to change it. We're going to do that launch again. I'm going to do it in manual mode this time. I'm not going to keep traction control off, so everything's back on. It doesn't really make a difference because the car hasn't warmed up. That's how launch control works, but we'll just go. Holy crap, man. This thing is just so fast. And yeah, you do feel it. Instantly, you can tell that this thing is faster. I mean, that M4, when we did it last week, that was quick, and it sounded so fast at the same time. But this, you almost don't feel it because it is so refined. It is meant to be an executive car. It doesn't necessarily need to have that raw, untamed performance feel to it, but it kind of does at the same time. That's what I really like about it. I mean, this car will go if you want it to. It's just a little bit more subtle. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, even though it's not really a sheep because it does have the M badges. There's 3 of them on the outside of this car. If you don't count the ones on the rims, there's small little emblems that go on the M rims. But still, you'd know right away that this isn't just any old 5 Series, but it still is something special. And I'm glad that we can show a little bit about how this vehicle performs both in the snow and in performance mode. As always, fuel economy is first up on our list. The 2020 BMW M550i xDrive completed our 100-kilometer test loop in 8.5 liters per 100 kilometers, or 27.7 US miles per gallon in Eco Pro mode, just a tenth of a liter worse than the M4 we drove last week before. Our 618-kilometer week ended off at 13.2 liters per 100 kilometers, or 17.8 mpg, again very close to what the M4 did. And that tops off our list of likes for the G30 M Performance Sedan. We also liked the bump in power with this model year, giving buyers another reason to consider this M550i. The likeness to being a smaller 7 Series is also a hit for us, giving buyers more of the same tech and toys found on the G11 7 Series, especially if you're looking for a more driver-focused experience over a chauffeured one. xDrive's winter handling paired with the Pirelli Soto 03 tires made for an excellent start to our snow testing season, filling our drive with enough confidence to tackle any serious snowstorm head-on. Finally, the overall experience with the 5 Series is what ultimately left us with that strong, lasting impression. The M550i itself is a well-rounded performance sedan bringing more power and speed than the previous generation M5s have, along with being livable on a daily basis. The G30 did everything we expected a modern 5 Series to do, with the added plus of hitting 100 kilometers in less than 4 seconds. And realistically, there wasn't much to dislike about it either. Once again, this vehicle came with BMW's laser light high beams, and we couldn't observe any noticeable improvement over the regular LED lights, nor a discernible change in road illumination when they're active, if they even were. And the rest of the complaints that we had about the 7 Series translate down to this as well, with features like the voice control or ambient lighting not being on par with what's being offered by Mercedes-Benz. They're not bad on their own, but when you're paying nearly $100,000 Canadian, you do want the experience to be above and beyond. So what do I recommend? Overall, I love this M550i. It stands out enough with enthusiasts that I had people giving me thumbs ups all week, but still humble in a way that still fits the image of a successful professional with taste. I recommend getting the Bowers & Wilkins Diamond Surround Sound audio system, as the Harman Kardon one wasn't overly exciting. The M Adaptive Suspension is also a must-have for any M Performance car, and something you'll want to consider also. Add those features, and aside from that, I'd likely configure my G30 the exact same way as this. You'd have to work pretty hard to drive this car and be disappointed.